Today, we're looking at a pink ink by Waterman Radiant Pink. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. Now, there's timestamps in the description down below, so you can skip around, but if you've got the time, I'd appreciate you checking out the entire video. You can also follow me over on Instagram, and if you're new here, I do fountain pen ink reviews every single day, so I would invite you to subscribe. In order to make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples. I then inked up this Duke 209 with a Fude nib. I wrote with it for a day and used it to take the notes for this video. In order to standardize some of the writing sample, I always use Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. Now, more papers are tested, and they'll show up a bit later. Now, let's look at the writing sample. I picked this ink up in sample form, so it came in a vial like this. And to keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's take a look at the Clairfontaine. We get no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1, very light, has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is quite a bit darker than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, and 7 seconds to dry. Medium is quite a bit darker than the extra fine, again with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, and 10 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show no color variation, and there was none. Tomoe River, no bleeding, barely any ghosting, such a light ink. The 1.1 is no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. Super unusable light tone. The extra fine is quite a bit darker than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 11 seconds to dry. Medium, quite a bit darker than the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen or shade, and 16 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show no color variation because again, there is none. And Rhodia, no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 is no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. Extra fine is quite a bit darker than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, and 8 seconds to dry. Medium is quite a bit darker than the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 11 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show no color variation, and we still don't get any color variation. I agree with Vita that there's a lot to be learned by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down and immediately put it in the water for 10 to 15 seconds. And yes, I actually did do these, and they are that light. So it flees from water, and it's the lightest pink in the world, up all the way at the top. Now the one on the right that I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water, it looks exactly the same in that you have to pay close attention to even see that this filter paper has been used. So we're not having high hopes here. Resistance tests are done to see how well this ink can be expected to perform on the page and how hard it may be to clean from your pen. I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, there is a lot of blowout that's occurred. It's really interesting because I've never seen an ink perform this way. It's very strange, but regardless of how that looks, I wouldn't use this in a note-taking situation if I needed to highlight because I feel like that was a fluke. That's a tremendous amount of blowout that's occurred so uniformly and neat that you can read it. But that feels like a freak show right there. Now, water is completely reactivating and lifting this off the page, meaning there's nothing else you would need to clean your pen. Pen Flush does everything that water does, nothing more. It's not needed, and talking about not needed, there's 1/3 bleach solution. It obliterates it, but so did water, so there, bleach. I test ink viscosity or flow by using a tilt test, and I'll link that somewhere here. And for the inks I've tested, I have found an average viscosity of 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Put the data onto a bell curve or standard deviation for it to be easily understood. Waterman's Radiant Pink has a viscosity of 1.82, making this a wetter ink. To find my average dry times, I use my writing samples, and for the inks I've tested, I found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with a realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Waterman's Radiant Pink has an average dry time of 11 seconds, making this a faster drying ink. Instead of finding inks that look like Waterman's Radiant Pink, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. I went for a nice green. Diamine's Delamere green. The second writing sample is done on yellow Rhodia, black and red, and G-Lalo paper. Here we're looking at yellow Rhodia. Not that you would be using this ink in a professional environment, but just to see, can this get a little bit nicer? And it's funny, I think this is a much nicer pink from the medium on the yellow paper than it was from on the white paper. I think this looks much nicer here. It's darker, more clear here. It's still like garbage up here, but much nicer. Look at that pink compared to that pink on the scrubbies. All right, black and red notebooks. No bleeding, no ghosting. I'd be shocked if Waterman ever did. The 1.1 is no feather, spread, halo sheen, and no shade. Now the extra fine is quite a bit darker than the stub with no feather, spread, halo sheen, or shade, and 2 seconds to dry. Medium is quite a bit darker than the extra fine with no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade, 3 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation because there is none. And last up is G-Lalo. It's a nice laid paper. It's gray tone. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1, still very hard to read, with no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade, or readability. No, I don't think it's going to come through on camera very well, but we'll see. Extra fine is quite a bit lighter than the quite a bit lighter. It would be invisible. Extra fine is quite a bit darker than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 5 seconds to dry. Medium, quite a bit darker than the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade, and 7 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show no color variation because there is none, and that is all that I have for the writing sample. So what do I think of Waterman's Radiant Pink? I feel like the conductor of the Waterman hate train, you know, hoo hoo, all aboard, hate them. I hate this pink. The brown has been okay. I know I have one more ink coming that's okay. I don't seem to care for Waterman inks. This pink is too pale for me to really see using on any kind of regular basis. So what nib and pen is going to give the best writing experience with this ink? I tried a very wet stub and a very wet broad, but what I found is this pink became kind of magenta leaning, which meant I had to stay with drier medium or fine pens, even though it was kind of pale. It just wasn't for me, but it wasn't horrible. I'm going to remind you that I'm here every day with a new ink review. Thanks for watching.